has 4 channels of audio. Maybe you have Spanish on 3 and 4, or maybe you have, M&E or music and effects, or we find that we can find a dialogue. And what we do with that information is tell Stanza which tracks of audio we want to use for the captioning transcription process. So this full workflow that I'm showing you can be completely hands-free. I just want to show you how it works first in the background. Once the file is submitted through that workflow, it lands in Stanza. We get a full HLS proxy of that source file, and the file is automatically transcribed. So Stanza has taken that file, extracted the audio, and used its own Telstream AI technology to transcribe that file. So transcription and captioning, 2 different things, right? Transcription is the process of putting text to sounds. Now we're going to do phase 2, which is turning that transcription into a caption and embedding it. So the workflow that I have here would require a manual gate, which is somebody going through this, checking the captions and clicking export. If you wanted to be hands-free, we could remove this part. But I'm just going to click export really quickly.
And specifically, Ted, how would you eliminate this part?
I would, right now I am within Vantage in the workflow. I'm telling Stanza to load the project and have it do the transcription. But within the Stanza action, there's an option to do it and then send me back an SCC file. So I would go down that path. So you would never have to open the Stanza GUI.
Excellent. That's what he's looking for.
Yeah. So now that that file has been sent back to Vantage, right, as an SCC file, I use the associate to associate that SCC now, which is what you're probably getting from your third-party caption provider, and it'll match the video file, and it'll start the caption embed process. Do you guys use like XDCAM 50, or what is your playout broadcast spec?
Yeah, it's a derivative of XDCAM 50.
Great. Just want to double check this will pick up shortly. Associate the SCC and do the transcode. I did one right before this, so I can show you how that works in Glim. But basically, here's our video file. Turn on my caption preview. My video file now is captioning. And Vantage, as you know, is already delivering that file with embedded caption to your playout server. That same process can continue. All we're going to do is just insert the Stanza action to do the transcription process.
And you effectively get 2 queues in this workflow, right? You get your Vantage queue, but then if you're sending a volume of jobs, you would see a queue inside a Stanza, right?
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. And that would show up from the top here in our projects view. You would see the files getting transcribed when they were done, if you ever needed the troubleshooter come into this GUI.
Gotcha. And the workflow, if you say to send the SEC file back to Vantage, Vantage will, like, you have it set up in 2 workflows, but this conceivably could be one workflow. Because Vantage will wait until that Stanza action is completed before moving on. If it's waiting for a return, okay.
Yeah. Why don't you walk them through the Stanza connector, Dad?
Sure. So what you would probably do is just use this beginning option here, which is literally, you don't need to create a project and generate a URL and have that for preview. So you would just create the speech to text aspect. You define your Stanza host, and if you had authentication turned on, which I don't, you'd have to generate these variables. which is the program ID and project ID that you want to reference. You could just use the same project over and over again if you'd like, but you don't have to. You can also include a custom library. If you have, I don't know if your students are doing shows with medical jargon or sports teams or so on and so forth, and you want to include like a roster or a specific library, you could do that as well in this prompt field. And then you also have the option to use auto timestamp. So after the transcription process, Stanza can do a second pass and line up the phonetic sounds with the waveforms so you have frame accurate caption.
And that's something that I would recommend, you know, is every time you're creating captions, you want to auto timestamp. Do you agree, Ted?
100%. Yeah. It only takes, a couple more seconds, but it just makes it that more accurate.
Yeah. Cool.
That all makes sense. So,
yeah.
So is it referencing a project ID that you've already set up in Stanza? So for example, like if we're doing, it's a sports show that the students are going to be delivering, right? So they're going to have consonant lower thirds, right? With player names or whatever. So we want the captions to appear above that, right? So like those global settings of, where we want the captions placed and those types of things. That's set up within Stanza, and then you're sort of use these settings within Stanza in the Vantage connector, right?
Yeah, so those sort of project-based template settings, as far as, what are the safe zones, where you want your caption, what font you want to use, that would live within your project. And that project can be called from Vantage, but you could have multiple Stanza projects. Maybe baseball has a certain format. I don't know, library show has this specific format. And that's kind of how you would use that as a gate.
Yeah. And also that library, maybe Ted, you want to show him how he can enter in, because you can, like Ted referenced in the Stanza connector, you can reference a library, but within Stanza, you can load words into the database, essentially, proper nouns and jargon. So if it's sports, they could load all the player names, okay? And then that can be associated with a given project.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah. And Matt, I mean, we said this earlier, but all this processing is happening on premise. Okay. So, all the AI stuff is happening right on the Stanza server. There's no cloud connection needed. And also there's no variable cost, like the cost for a Stanza license for one user per year. It's a subscription is, it's a wacky number. It's $21.40. Okay. So it's just over $2,000 a year. Three users is just over $4,000 a year. And that's simultaneous users or simultaneous sessions. So if you're, Vantage can only process one job at a time, one Stanza job at a time. Is that right, Ted?
Yeah, or they'll go into a queue. But yeah, if you need consecutive, like you have 5 shows that all need to be done at the same time, you would need a 3-seat.
Oh, so if
Sure.
you had a 3-seat license, Vantage could process 3 at a time?
Well, it's the Stanza transcription process is the license gate.
So Stanza, okay, right.
Yeah, Vantage
Okay.
can send 1 million at a time. It's just how
Right.
many Stanza can do at a specific time.
Yeah, so if you wanted to do more than one at a time, you'd buy a 3-user license. Okay. And Matt, one of the things that Ted showed that, you said you don't really want to get into editing, but if you did ever wanted to get outside of this, Stanza could automatically throw off a URL, and then you could email that to a producer or somebody if they want to eyeball it. Okay. So that's possible. And like one of the nice features about Stanza is right here where you're seeing it, that video, like Stanza's not, you don't need a proxy. Stanza will just play from the original file, pretty much no matter where that file is. Okay. So you could be at home as long as you have privileges to access the media, and you could get that link and you could just click on it. You'd see Stanza loaded up with a proxy, loaded up with the captions, etc.
Yeah, I mean, this seems like the best of both worlds, having it integrated with Advantage. But if I do need to go in there and tweak something, I could still do so by
Yep.
opening up Stanza. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would
How
hope. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, how fast is this typically? I know it probably is determined by the type of content and all this stuff, but you
So
know, is it?
there's a couple factors. We do have different models, right? Which is like good, better, best. And best has the highest time penalty because that takes the most time, but it also will use the most compute. So it all depends on the host of where you want to put Stanza. So if you have a virtual machine and it's pretty beefy and you want the most accurate, so you would use large, you know, the time penalty will be up to how much compute is on that virtual host. We also fully support GPU accelerated transcription. So if you want to go really, really fast, we have GPU options as well.
How, Matt, how busy is your Vantage?
Not very. It's just particular times of day when we have, you know, we have a show at 4:30 every day and this, that, and the other thing, but it's not overloaded in any way, shape, or form, unless we're doing some sort of bulk thing and we know that we need to do that overnight or whatever. So ideally, the Stanza would be installed on our our Lightspeed server, and it would just run there, and we shouldn't have any conflicts, I wouldn't imagine.
That's what I was thinking. And Ted, it sounds like they're typically just doing one job at a time when it's being used, you know? Would you imagine any conflicts there?
Well, I'm an honest guy, and I'm currently doing that right now. So Stanza is running on my local Vantage Lightspeed server, and both are happy at the same time. You just have to know that there might be a contention problem down the road if you have a 4:30 show and somebody dumps in, you know, a whole bunch of transcription stuff. Both applications will be fighting for what's available, but you can protect yourself with like run-on rules and you know timing for each workflow. So if it's just one, I think you might be okay. But I will say this: Stanza, your Vantage version, if you wanted to keep everything in the same ecosystem, you need to be on the latest version of Vantage. So if you do want to do like a proof of concept and try this all out, we should just do some investigative work to make sure your Vantage version is up to date.
Yeah, where do I see the Vantage? Is
If
that
you the easiest way is if you go to add remove programs and scroll all the way down to the bottom.
Vantage 8.0.155.
Okay, and then can you do this? Can you click on Windows Explorer, right click on this PC and go to properties and just, unless you know off the top of your head, what Windows OS are you running?
Server 2016, I believe. Let me look. Yes, 2016 standard.
Okay. So we would have to do a quick upgrade to 8.2. And but your compute resources are totally fine. So you can install Stanza today on that Lightspeed server and run it. If you want to use Vantage, though, we have to upgrade Vantage.
Yeah. And that upgrade, I'm expecting, you know, Matt, you could do yourself. You could just do it running the installer. Okay, given that you're running an 8.x.
Gotcha. Yeah, I've done that before. So
Yeah. But yeah, that's the drill. No added cost for the connector. The Stanza connector just comes part of Vantage, and no cost associated with creating the captions. Okay,
Okay.
it's just the subscription cost for Stanza each year, and that includes support, by the way.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that sounds like exactly what we want, and that would give us some flexibility to do some other on-prem captioning, depending on the quality that comes out of it. We'll have to do some comparisons with our other services, but if we could, I know our radio folks do some just transcripts just so they can see, it's not going to air or anything like that, so the quality doesn't have to be there. So maybe we could set up something for them too. So there's other uses for it. So
Yeah, it does do that. We have a lot of customers that do like it'll just spit out like log files, and that way they have with time code references. So that way they can just search and it'll be like, specific name. Oh, it's this time code. It's in this video. Let me go search my within Premiere now and do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds good.
Well, and Matt, I gotta get on the sales stump a little bit, because maybe it could also help you justify squeezing a Vantage server upgrade into the potential spend, right?
Yes, it is on my list. We know that hardware is not supported anymore, so we know we have to get off it and move to that. And then it's definitely on my capital list. But I think I explained to you the university is kind of in a holding pattern right now with capital expenditure, blah blah blah. No, the Vantage has been a powerful tool for us over the years, so we definitely want to continue using it.
Right on, and the added processing speed you'd get with the new server might make a difference too. Cool. Well, listen, I mean, if you want to would you like to eval the software, Matt? Would you like me to send you an eval copy, or if you want to do it some other time, you could just let us know. We could send it out.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should move forward. If you want to send me a quote, can you just add this to is this a separate contract, or can you?
I could do it however you want. I've sent you pricing for the waveform and sync generator and the Vantage server. Do you want me to just add it to the Vantage server proposal? Is that what you're thinking?
Well, I was thinking, so we pay for, the current Vantage licensing and then a seat of Mac Caption or Caption Maker, whatever it's called now.
Oh, the support.
Yeah, for support. For support, right?
Oh,
So
you'd like to make this subscription coterminous with your support payment.
If possible. If not, I can do them as separate things. It just makes my life easier, and I'm lazy, so.
Yeah, I know. Well, something, it's a common request, Matt, and what I'm told is the first year, if you decided to move with Stanza, the first year we would time it just when you buy it, okay? But then in subsequent years, we could co-term it with your support.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, that's totally fine. So if you just
Yeah.
want to send me an individual quote for that,
Sure.
then
Yeah.
I can work on getting that process. And then should I just put in a ticket to get information on how to upgrade to 8.2?
I mean, if you have, I could send you the installers. There are some, you open a support ticket, we can have somebody just take a quick peek at your workflows and tell you, oh, this might, in an ideal world, you have a dev environment, you do the upgrade and you test, right? But if you if you're one and done, you live on the edge, you could do the full upgrade, bring everything in at your current version, and then upgrade one at a time. 8.2 has a bunch of, so you're 2 versions behind the most current, and it's still, I don't want you to get surprised. But it looks the same, right? It's not like you're going to be like, I don't know where this button is. We just added additional action items, and there's a lot more features under the hood. So, but the upgrade process, the only thing I will say is it does require a new database instance.
Mm.
So, if you have a single node, it's not too crazy, but sometimes that can be, like a little scary, depending on how comfortable you are.
Yeah, I would like to have some assistance with I think the only problem I ever ran into upgrading it was when we did have to redo the SQL database, and it was a little bit of a cluster, so yeah.
Okay, so why what is the easiest way for you to proceed? If you want to open a support ticket, those guys are all, a wealth of knowledge, and they can tell you the do's and don'ts and what's scary and what's not. I can also do it if you've wanted to go that path. Whenever you want to have that conversation and start investigating it, just let me know which way you want to proceed and make it happen.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go ahead and just put in a ticket and see if I have any questions. I can reach out to you or a specific
Sure.
stanza when we get that up and running. But I mean, this sounds like the solution that we need, and I don't see any real downsides, and it's cost effective. So I say let's go for it.
Right on. Right on. Thanks, Matt. I'll get you a proposal out shortly, and I'll also request an eval license for you. Okay. If you have any questions about the upgrade or anything like that, just reach out. Okay.
All right.
All right. Thanks a bunch for your time.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Have a good weekend. See you.
Bye-bye.